Am I the asshole for upstaging the bride and refusing to change my dress? So my 27 female cousin, 29 female, is soon getting married. The thing is, our families have been in no contact for the last 10 to 12 years because of some issues between our fathers. In total, 4 brothers who hated each other. The feud recently came to an end because all the kids are grown up now, and we kind of want to keep our differences aside and enjoy the upcoming events. We all had a little reunion. The issue started with my cousin's engagement party. Now, I want to highlight that I take good care of myself. I do yoga and dance to stay fit. On some special occasions, I love to dress up a lot. It makes me feel good and confident. My cousin is a doctor, and due to her schedule, she has put on some weight. But I respect her because her profession is tougher than mine. I'm an engineer. For her engagement, I wore a nice, beautiful peach-colored gown. It wasn't a new one. This was a 3-year-old gift from someone. We are Indians, and brides generally prefer to wear lehengas or saris. Even though we have reconciled as a family, my sister never involved me with her planning or anything related to her wedding, and I was totally okay with that. When me and my mother arrived at the location of the event, all was good, but the bride was late. People from the groom's side welcomed us nicely, and I was feeling great. My cousin was almost 2 hours late, but when she arrived, with her 2 besties, I could feel the tension between us rising high. To my horror, she was wearing a peach-colored gown exactly like mine, but it was more glittery. Only the bottom part of our dress was slightly different. She went on without acknowledging my existence. My mum noticed me, but told me to relax, as it was an accident, and to enjoy myself. She went ahead to help my auntie with further preparations. I took a seat in the corner with my other cousin. When I was talking to him, one of the bride's besties came to talk. I thought she was there to invite me to join them, but she straight up told me to change my dress. I was speechless. I told her no because 1, there was nothing else to wear, and 2, my house was several kilometers away and it would take me almost 2 hours to do so. She started suggesting different options for buying a new dress, or she could lend me some clothes. I firmly told her no. My mum and dad were unaware of all this. She kept arguing with me but gave up. When the ceremony started, my cousin was looking fine and smiled at me because, in the end, she was getting engaged to the love of her life. We both got compliments, and I thought the drama was over. But her friends kept giving me side eyes throughout the event, and today one of them tried to contact me on Instagram. The most hurtful thing was the fact that there was an after-party thrown by the bride and groom for all the cousins and their special friends, but I wasn't invited. I kind of feel like an asshole, but I need an honest opinion. Not the asshole. Who cares if you were wearing similar dresses? I'm sure you both looked beautiful. If this happens to me, I'd laugh about it. I don't understand the anger. How rude of them to ask you to go home and change and go shopping for a new outfit. Not the asshole. You're not psychic, and going home to change in the middle of the party is ridiculous, even if you had the exact same dress, which is not the case. It's not even the actual wedding. And not the asshole, but I do find it peculiar that you mentioned your fitness and her weight. Nothing from the interaction described above suggests that they were jealous of your fitness or that you pulled off the peach gown better than her, only that your dress was too similar to hers. Are you sure you aren't adding the part where they're jealous of your figure as an assumption? You might be an asshole for that one. Not the asshole. Perspective from another Indian who's been to engagement parties. How the F did you end up upstaging the bride at her engagement ceremony? That is close to impossible at any Indian engagement party. You are supposed to be dressed very well, and guests spend a fortune trying to look good for the pictures, and no matter what, the bride always stands out. That being said, it's pretty common for Indian brides nowadays to wear elaborate gowns during their reception or engagement party. Just stick to lehengas or saris. But, like I said, these are huge events with a ton of people, and the bride always stands out, so most people probably didn't even see you. Don't worry too much. Now to the update. Well, a lot has happened since I made the post here. First, I want to thank you all for giving an honest opinion. One thing that I noticed, all the Indians who commented on my post told me that I am not the asshole. Let me clear out a few things. I don't hate my cousin, the bride. I'm not petty or mean, and this dress incident was totally unintentional. Her friend said that I was upstaging the bride, which was not the case. During the ceremony, I tried to keep a low profile, even though it wasn't my fault. I compared our looks and weight because it had been literally a competition between us since childhood to look better than each other, which was really childish and created more issues in our family. And I thought her friends were mean to me because of our previous issues. So for an update. A few days ago, my aunt, the bride's mum, called my mum. They were having this general discussion about further planning for the wedding. Then my aunt told my mum that I would be besides the bride on stage during the wedding. It was a shock for me because it's like getting a maid of honor position. I quickly texted my cousin to thank her, and we talked for the first time after her engagement. We decided to meet up for a coffee. At the coffee shop, I brought up the topic of our matching dress, and she told me she was shocked at first, but later totally forgot about it. I also asked her why she was choosing me over her friends to be on stage. She gave a few reasons why, like they're not punctual and irresponsible, and can be very demanding sometimes. And I am literally her family. As I mentioned, she was actually looking very happy during her engagement. She also told me that she was a bit disappointed that I wasn't there at the after party, and her soon-to-be husband was also asking for me. From her talk, one thing I know is that she is not aware about her friends being mean to me and lying about me. Cousin and I are on good terms, and at the end, we ate some delicious burgers and had fun, and I also showed her my dress, which I'll be wearing at her wedding. I'm still unsure if I should tell her about her bestie or just let it go. I just want to enjoy the wedding without any further drama. And now in the comments, yay! Glad you two sorted things out. I personally wouldn't tell her about her bestie. There's no reason to add fuel to the drama, and it kinda sounds like she's aware of the kind of people her friends are. Yeah, sounds like she has some idea that the friends engage in childish shenanigans. As long as they don't do anything else, taking the high road here is best. Especially because what happened at the party is going to be a he said, she said situation, so no one wins in that. If they keep sending messages, then it would be fair game for OP to forward those to the cousin to make sure there isn't any unintentional drama on the wedding day. I'd just leave things as they are. She either knows about her bestie's personality and ignores it or puts up with it, or she's oblivious to it. Bringing it up will only cause unnecessary drama. OP says, exactly. I'll just keep my distance from her friends and have fun with my actual family. If they give you any grief, I would just tell them you'll check out what they're saying with the bride. You won't bother her with the nonsense because you're an adult and a good person, but they will not know that. And OP says, nice idea. I can definitely give them a warning without causing any issues, only if they try something. Wow. So her so-called bestie took it upon themselves to try and get you to change your dress, and had you thinking she was doing this at the request of your cousin, who really did not care that much about the dresses being similar. Glad you guys got to actually talk and move on. Enjoy the wedding. I read that Indian weddings are awesome, sometimes 3-day events. And OP says, yes, 3-day events with many small ceremonies and gatherings. Now that this issue is resolved, I'm looking forward to it. Am I the asshole for telling my brother he won't be allowed to my wedding if he keeps talking about coming out? It sounds harsh, I, 24 male, know, but we just don't want that kind of drama at our wedding. My brother, 27 male, told me over 3 months ago that he's gay, and he's had a boyfriend for 2 months, which is fine. I've met his boyfriend and he's nice. No one in my family knows except me and my fiancé. Our wedding is coming up soon in a few weeks. For a while, he's been telling me he wants to come out at our wedding and introduce everyone to his boyfriend. But he already knows half of our relatives that are going to be there are old and have negative thoughts about the LGBT. My parents are more neutral, they have never had anything good or bad to say. But when it's your own kid coming out, things could go really good or really bad, and we don't want all that going down on our wedding day. My brother keeps saying it's not fair since it's a day celebrating love, and he's allowed to celebrate his too. And I said, no, it's a day celebrating our love, because it's our wedding. Also, I thought it was weird he kept talking about bringing his boyfriend, because literally no one is getting a +1. It's for family and friends only, anyone who got an invitation. So that's just another thing that he got mad at me over. I don't see why it's such a big deal for him to wait after the wedding or do it before if it's so important to him. I told him he could just call up everyone to have a sit down and tell them. My brother keeps saying I don't get it, and if he doesn't have my support in doing this, then I'm the asshole. We got into a fight. Then for the past 2 weeks, he's had a new attitude about not needing my permission to tell the family something important, so that's when I told him he won't be invited to our wedding at all if he even thinks about doing this behind our back when we said no. Now he's even more pissed. He's accusing me of not truly accepting him just because I won't let him do this at my wedding, and excluding him from it entirely just because he's gay is cold and heartless of me. It became a bigger drama already, and the wedding hasn't even happened yet. But I get that, he's my brother. I don't know why it has to be at my wedding though. Am I the asshole? And now in the comments, not the asshole. No thunder stealing on someone else's big day, be that proposing, announcing pregnancy, or coming out. It's the rule. I don't get why some people have trouble with this. My cousin got married recently, and her older sister, who is pregnant, found out the day before the wedding if she was having a boy or a girl. She said that she's not saying anything until after the wedding because she doesn't want to take the attention away from her sister. Not the asshole. Forget about the gay/coming out issue. Your wedding is a special day that's just for you and your fiancé. It's inappropriate for anyone else to hijack it for any other reason. Exactly. It's not about the fact that he's gay, which his brother stated must be OP's issue. It's the large announcement on someone else's big day that's the issue. It could have been that he's adopting a baby or something. The answer would still be no. OP is absolutely not the asshole, and it isn't fair for his brother to say that OP isn't allowing him to come out at his wedding because he's homophobic or unaccepting. His understanding isn't required. It's not his day, it is yours, and if that's hard for him to understand the difference, ask him if he would like you to have a Zoom meeting with all the invitees where you can tell them his news. Oh, that's not my decision to make? Weird. I thought we were just making unilateral decisions for each other about life-changing events. Okay, here's the compromise. You make your announcement on any one of the other 364 days of the year. Your brother is being incredibly selfish. What is it about weddings that makes everyone want to jump in the selfish pool and make it about them? Let him know what the cutoff date is for him to make the decision to be drama-free. If he hasn't promised that he won't make your wedding day about him by XX/XX, he is uninvited. There will be security to keep him out, and what shall I tell everyone is the reasoning for our falling out? Not the asshole. And now onto the update. Some of you wanted to know what ended up happening. To start, I got married yesterday. It was the happiest day ever for me and my wife. Why am I leaving this update up the day after getting married? Well, we're about to go on our honeymoon, and we'll be at the airport for the next 4 hours before our flight takes off on its 20-something hour journey, so we got time to kill. The wedding was great. In the end, we decided to just uninvite my brother completely. He didn't change his mind about that being where he wanted to come out to everyone. Even if he did, my wife and I agreed that we still couldn't trust him not to do it. He was mad AF, of course. We got into another fight. He accused me of not caring about his happiness. I pointed out that he didn't seem to care about mine either, since it's my wedding he wanted to make about him. We already told him we understand it's probably super scary to come out, and we don't want him to feel alone in it. He can still have everyone over so he can tell them, and we'll be there for him to defend if someone's got something to say about it. But all of that won't be going down at our wedding. While it sucked he wasn't there, I tried not to focus on that. My family asked where he was, and I told him he had a work thing come up. He doesn't want them to know the real reason, obviously, so he went along with that too. Our offer still stood on being there for support if he arranged to get everyone together, but he hasn't spoken to me since last week. I don't know if he will. That'll be up to him whenever he decides to stop being mad about this. My wife and I have our own life to focus on. It was a lovely wedding, and we are glad we managed to avoid any drama going down yesterday. Thank you, Reddit, for the support. And also for advice on how to talk to him. All of it was really appreciated. Glad you had a good wedding. Hopefully your brother comes around and realizes that he was being completely unreasonable, and what he planned to do at your wedding was really self-centered. You don't use someone else's wedding as a platform for your own big announcement, no matter what that announcement is. Pregnancies, engagements, coming out, etc. That's just so unfair and out of line to try to overshadow a couple and steal their spotlight on their special day. Congratulations to you, and have a great honeymoon. Good for you for standing firm. It sounds like your brother isn't so enthusiastic anymore about coming out to the family without the bigger audience which your wedding had. You offered your support, that's all you can do for now. Enjoy your honeymoon. Maybe by the time you get home, brother will have calmed down. Congrats. And OP says, hopefully he will, and you're right that that's all we can really do. I hope he understands that my wedding also wasn't the place to do it. Just remember that him not being there was not your fault, and you were not asking him anything unreasonable. Your wedding date is not about him. You need to reiterate that because if he's selfish enough to stick to his guns about this, he's not going to be apologizing or admitting that he screwed up so easily. Do not feel guilty, and to not be the one to apologize in order to get him back. I'm only telling you this because you seem nice, and while it's easy to feel this way now, if he's still avoiding you in a couple of months, or he's suffering because he's not with you, you might waver. I can't help but think that he wanted to make a big scene by coming out at your wedding. Maybe he likes drama, or maybe he just wanted attention. Regardless, I don't blame you for not having him there. There is already enough drama at most weddings. You don't need more, and he's got plenty of other days to pick when he comes out. I personally think the brother wanted it at the wedding, so if there was any upheaval, he could just say, Now, it's OP's wedding. We shouldn't be fighting over my sexual preferences. It's supposed to be a happy day. Let's keep it that way. Just as a way to cover himself from any initial backlash, even at the cost of stealing the spotlight from his brother. I feel like him wanting to do it that way was due to fear and self-preservation. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my biological son because of a family emergency on his mother's side? It sounds like an asshole thing from the title, but let me just give a few extra details. He is my biological son, but I haven't been allowed in his life or am recognized as one. This happened after a pretty screwed up night of getting high off my ass with my brother and his wife. Add in alcohol, and we were all pretty screwed up. Most of the night was a blur, but basically, her and I slept together, with his permission, and he was also there. But in the morning, we realized how badly we all messed up and agreed it will never happen again. My brother and I became a little estranged for a while because it was too weird to be around each other. They later announced being pregnant, but I thought I was safe because she took a plan B the morning after it happened, just in case. After he was born, I was getting doubts though, and really wanted to know for sure he wasn't mine. My brother eventually agreed to a paternity test, and that said I'm the father. I've been wanting to be in my son's life, but they won't let me. My family was on his side about it, and told me to stop being selfish, because on paper, this is his child, since they're married, and if I'm around, it's going to complicate their marriage even more. The whole time I tried to convince them, my parents would say that I'm a horrible younger brother. He felt that way too when I would ask if I could at least come over to maybe play with him for a little bit. So about 2 months ago, I gave up, but kept my distance from them because it hurts too much. He is 10 months old, still haven't gotten to hold him. But now because his mother-in-law got into an accident, they want me to watch him for a few days. My brother is flying with her to go see her mum because he has to help out too. Our parents right now are in the UK for a couple of months. They can't bring him because they're worried he might get sick if they take him to an airport. My brother says it's only 3 days. If there was anyone else that could watch him, then they'd ask, but he really needs help. I told him no, because he's fine with me being a sitter when it's at their convenience, but I'm not allowed to be a dad to my son? Then it might also hurt a lot more to actually spend time with him than to have to give him back and not be allowed to see him anymore. We started arguing, and we were yelling at each other. My brother told me to grow up and stop being petty about what happened, even more right now that there's an actual emergency and they need someone's help. I do feel bad because I get it's a serious issue happening with their mum, so they need to be there. But at the same time, I'm still mad about what they did. So I don't know if that's just me being petty or not. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. After you watch him for the 3 days, then what? They rip him from your arms again? They're lucky you haven't sued for visitation. And OP says, that would be the most painful part. You could take them to court for visitation. Unless you signed away parental rights, you do have rights to see your son. It doesn't always work that way in these cases. As far as the law is concerned, the man she's married to is the father of her child. If the presumed father, the man the woman is married to, refuses to give up his parental rights, it can be extremely difficult for the biological father to legally establish paternity. The presumed father would have to give up his parental rights or have his parental rights taken away in order for OP to establish this. If her husband wants this child and their home is stable, it's relatively unlikely that a judge would side with OP. Not true, since the paternity is already established. I'm sure the court would order another paternity test too. That sounds a lot like the "my brother and his wife used the sperm I donated years ago when I needed money, and now she's having my kid" story. Nah, this one involved consent, drunken consent, which is questionable. But they were all drunk, so less so maybe? Who knows? I want follow-ups for all of this madness though. Jesus. Listen, we all read some messed up stuff on Reddit, and absolutely every single one has an opinion. This one though, I think is a collective WTF. For future reference though, Plan Bill will not work if the spermie and the eggie have already connected, as you know by now. So don't ever screw any other woman married to your family member. And OP says, I'm just not drinking anymore or smoking anything. That's probably the best bet. After reading the post, I don't think you're the asshole here. They seem to want to flip-flop on their stance when it suits them best. Guaranteed when they get back, it'll go back to how it was before. As the bio father, and considering the situation, you can fight for your rights if that's what you want. It'll be a battle, but you didn't know the baby was 100% yours until after he was born. You do have rights. Everyone sucks here for creating this situation in the first place. Either suck it up and let your brother be the kid's father and stop fighting it, or go to a lawyer and get your parental rights established and prepare to be estranged from your family. But stop whining about not getting to be the kid's father and uncle at the same time in only the ways that you want, and think about what's best for the poor baby boy. And now on to the update. I know there was a lot of mixed opinions on my last post about this, but it still helped a lot hearing feedback from others about this. Support for not wanting to put my heart in a position to be hurt by accepting, but also advice on how to handle the situation. I get that it's an extremely weird situation, and people had their things to say about it. I still want to say thank you to those who genuinely wanted to help, and for your honest judgment. In the end, I did change my mind about watching my son. Honestly, it was one of the most challenging days at first. It took a while to get in tune with his routine. The first couple nights he was fussy because I was a stranger to him. Little by little, he warmed up. He's gotten so big, it totally blew my mind getting that chance to finally hold him. It meant everything. It was very emotional for me. Their trip ended up being longer than the 3 days they anticipated. They left on the 14th late at night and had been gone over a week. Which was great because I got to spend so many more days with my son, and it was just amazing. They barely got back yesterday in the evening. Saying goodbyes was as hard as I was scared that it was gonna be. It tore me up. Last night I barely slept. Just how much it hurt not to be around him. My brother and I talked this morning, to ask him again if it would ever be possible for them to let me be in my son's life as his dad. Trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation, because I'm not trying to take him away from them, but I want to be able to spend time with him, have some sort of shared custody. Not right away, obviously, because he's still a baby, but after spending more time establishing a relationship with him, and he's older, and then discuss more custody time. He was still against that, so I guess there's my answer for this. Sister-in-law called me earlier to say thank you for watching him. She's sorry because she understands how badly that I want to be in my son's life, but brother just doesn't want that, and she has to be on his side about this. I've taken a lot of time thinking about this after my post and decided I'm going to fight for my right as his father. I've had one consult so far with an attorney. This one was much more helpful than the last time I tried talking to one about this. While he doesn't guarantee that I'll get anything more than visitation, there's a chance I'll be able to establish paternity through the court. He wanted me to know that it's going to be an uphill battle, so to be ready for that. And honestly, I am. It's a shitty situation. I just want to be in my son's life as his father, and not anything else. And now in the comments, this situation is so strange that I wonder if OP's brother had fertility issues, and so they got OP high and devised a plan to have a baby together. And OP says, yes, I saw some people brought this up a few times on my original post. Not like I haven't thought about it, but it made me spiral to places I don't have the mental capacity to process, and rather not think about any what-ifs. For what it's worth, I think that if that were the case, they would have refused to voluntarily do a paternity test for you. It's also a pretty bad plan. Even perfectly healthy couples timing cycles and trying to get pregnant can take a while to actually do it. Sure, a one-night stand can get you pregnant, but it's not anything to bet on. I don't want there to be any chance of you spiraling again, and it's for that reason I want you to remember this. No matter what their motivation was, if you discovered that truth today, it wouldn't change your current path forward. You would still be in the same situation, drunken mistake or not. At that point, it's about betrayal, but you're already betrayed by them denying you your son. What matters is what you do now. Your fight will not be an easy one, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth it. If you can, I highly recommend finding a therapist. You are going to need support, mentally and emotionally. Having someone help you find your way through such a difficult time can be invaluable. We're rooting for you. And OP says, you're right. It doesn't change where we are right now, and that's why I want to focus on this. Not what may or may not have happened in the past. I still love my son no matter what, and want to be involved in his life. Therapy has been on my mind more recently. I'll start doing some more research to find someone. Thank you. It's sweet that you got time with the little guy, and I hope you get what you want from the legal battle. I think your brother and your family are very selfish, especially because your brother agreed to the test. If he didn't want to share the baby, he could have refused outright and let you be an uncle. I do understand that your sister-in-law feels she has to be on her husband's side though. I think it's cruel of your brother. Also, it's easier to have the kid grow up with this knowledge rather than him finding it out later on. That's just asking for drama. And OP says, it was very hard and overwhelming in the beginning. He didn't like being with someone he didn't know. It got better in the next few days. I've never been happier than I was when I was with him, and I got lucky enough to earn smiles and laughs from him. It meant the world. Right now, I just miss him so bad. It's a shitty situation, and I get why it would be hard on him, but it sucks because it would have been better if we figured something out instead of bringing this to court. And yes, you're right. No matter what, my son would find out the truth. Not the arsehole. You have every right to see your son. I'm glad you spoke with an attorney. Good luck to you, and please give us an update. And OP says, I'm glad I did too. The past few months have been brutal, and then for the first attorney to tell me that it's not going to happen, I felt very heartbroken. Even if it's impossible though, I want to try fighting for him. It wasn't easy going into it this way, but I'm still grateful for the time that we got together. Good luck, mate. I wish you nothing but the best, but please see a therapist or talk to someone through this process, as you will have to deal with isolation, as your family will turn against you once action is taken. My fiancé got breast enhancement surgery, and I am no longer attracted to her. As the title says, my girlfriend and fiancé of 2.5 years recently got breast enhancement surgery. She had been saying she wanted to do it ever since we first began dating, and while I expressed to her that I didn't think it was necessary, as I loved the way she looked before, I always said I would support whatever decision she made because it is her body and she is the one who has to live in it. About a year ago, her mother died after a long battle with cancer, in which she actually went into remission after a double mastectomy, but then the cancer eventually came back and metastasized to her pancreas. It was a horribly painful and unpleasant experience for everyone in her family. I had met my girlfriend after her mum went into remission and after the surgery, so I wasn't there for her for the first battle, which from what I've heard was very traumatic and painful in its own way. When her mother passed, she inherited a fairly large sum of money. Nothing crazy, but enough to put down a payment on a house and finally pay for the surgery that she wanted. When she told me she had made the appointment to meet with a plastic surgeon, I was supportive, but again reinforced that I loved the way she looked now and suggested that maybe her desire to do this now was connected to her grief with her mother's passing. She pretty much dismissed that notion, since she said she'd wanted to get implants since she was in high school before her mum ever had cancer or the mastectomy. Fair enough. Fast forward about 6 months ago to the surgery, and it goes off without a hitch. Because she was recovering for about a month or so, I didn't really see the finished product right away, and then when I did, they were much bigger than I had expected. She told me that there was still swelling, and that would go down, and it would look more natural. And the swelling did go down, but they've never really looked natural to me. Maybe because I was just so accustomed to the way they looked before the surgery that I'm having trouble seeing them any other way. For the past few months, our sex life has been okay, but it definitely has dwindled a bit. We couldn't really have sex while she was recovering, and after she was feeling up to it, we overcompensated a bit by having lots of sex. But it was still before I had an idea what they looked like, since when we had sex, she would still be in a sports bra and or a baggy t-shirt that stayed on during. And I was very cautious not to grab at them or anything, since they were still tender for so long after. Eventually, she completely recovered, and immediately I wasn't thrilled. But I lied and said I thought they looked great. Thing is, I don't hate them or anything. The part where I started losing attraction to her has been that since she got the surgery, she gets a lot more attention from random strangers. Which I've never minded. She got attention from strangers in the past too. She's a beautiful woman now and before. But since the surgery, she seemed so much more receptive to the attention that it's just become a total turn-off for me. I didn't initially bring it up because I thought maybe I was just being paranoid, and even if I wasn't, it would likely be regarded that way and dismissed either way. But eventually I started to make little comments here and there when she would flirt back with the delivery guy or whatever. Nothing terrible, but like, not sure he needs a tip after all, or something like that. She got annoyed, and eventually I did bring up my discomfort, and she did what I assumed she would, which was accusing me of being paranoid and reading into things, and saying what I thought was happening was not. And then a couple of weeks ago, I found out that while out with her girlfriends, she was convinced to enter a wet t-shirt contest. A friend of mine happened to be at the bar that they were at, and just sent me a text telling me how great my girlfriend's chest looked. He was joking and later said he framed it that way because he was uncomfortable letting me know, but knew he needed to let me know in case I wasn't aware. When I confronted her about it, she didn't understand why I was upset, which is just symptomatic of this entire personality change she seems to have undergone since the procedure. I tried to explain that if she had told me that was happening, I probably would have been fine, but the secrecy and just her general dismissiveness of my concerns and enjoying the extra attention was hurtful. She seemed to think that because she won the wet t-shirt contest, I should just be okay with it, and that I am lucky to have her. This simply isn't the person I fell in love with. I know I might be overreacting a bit, but I didn't love how the surgery turned out to begin with, and now this entire personality shift has been jarring enough to make me lose interest in being intimate with her at all. For the past 2 weeks, we've only had sex 2 times, and I've even had to reject her advances. I tried to be as nice as possible, but when I tell her I am not in the mood now, she gets very angry and frustrated and kind of throws mini tantrums, which is also very new. Like she thinks she's doing me a favor by even wanting to have sex with me, and I am now somehow ungrateful. I've had some of my friends, male and female alike, mimic this kind of sentiment when I've tried to discuss it, hence bringing it to Reddit. I believe the person I fell in love with is still in there somewhere, but I might just be kidding myself. I am at the point where I want to suggest couples counseling, but the one time I remotely touched on the subject, she was not receptive to the idea. I don't know what else to do though. She's like a completely different person now, and I don't know that I like that person very much. And now in the comments, she said that I was lucky to have her. She was doing me a favor by wanting to have sex with me. Oh hell nah, F that crap. She's getting more and more full of herself, especially with the attention of others. I have read many stories like this, and let me tell you, it never ends well. My advice? Break up. You guys clearly aren't compatible anymore, and eventually, you'll start resenting each other. End it now before it gets worse. 100% this. She doesn't see OP as an equal anymore, which is a recipe for long-term disaster. She already is showing red flags of possible future cheating and overall emotional toxicity and abuse in my opinion. Sneaking around about stuff like a wet t-shirt contest, which is in my opinion sexual, and she probably flirted with guys there if she flirted with delivery men right in front of OP. Flirting with men right in front of OP, which is disrespectful to OP and their relationship, her being dismissive of OP's feelings and concerns, and then deflects it back onto and makes it OP's fault. Red flag for any partner. Making him feel lesser or that he is lucky that she's with him. Abusers or toxic assholes use this technique to make their victims deal with their crap for longer and make their victims' self-esteem plummet. If OP's friends are repeating the sentiment that he should feel lucky, he should say he would feel lucky if his girlfriend of 2.5 years didn't do a 180 and flirt with other dudes right in front of him while telling him he should be lucky she essentially doesn't sleep with others. Then ask if any of them would feel lucky, or even that their girlfriend remotely loves them in that situation. OP, never be someone's second choice, and you are worth it. She has your love and attention, but now that she has the attention of others, she won't be able to get enough just from you. Stop having sex with her altogether, because not gonna lie, if she is flirting with men openly in front of you, what could she have been doing with the men at the wet t-shirt contest? I would get STI/STD screening and try to move out if you're able to. If people give you crap, tell them you have enough self-respect not to stay with someone who flirts with others in front of their own partner and doesn't apologize, but puts down their partner when called out. She can be lucky you are setting her free so she can trap someone else. Good luck, OP. If anything, get therapy for yourself, because having multiple people tell you that and your partner act like that can mess up your self-esteem. These types of surgeries, meaning cosmetic, seem to screw some people mentally. Obviously the goal is to look better, but I think that sometimes it goes to the person's head and they become someone completely different. This happened with my sister who had bariatric surgery. She never had anyone hitting on her before the surgery, and after, she went a little crazy. I thought it would pass and she would be the same person as before, but it just never happened. Her personality changed and was never the same. I've come to terms with it. She is my sister, and I love her regardless, but our relationship is not the same. She is showing you who she is now. Believe it, accept it, and either choose to stay or get out now and cut your losses. You should move on. You are no longer compatible. It sucks, but it is what it is. You aren't going to change her back now, and it's okay to not like the person she has become. Move on. If you want to salvage what you had, you should go to counseling together, but it'll only work if she's on board. If not, then she's made her choice, and now it's time for you to make yours. And now on to the update. First, I want to thank everyone for their helpful and reassuring insight. After the post, I was still uncertain as to what to do. I didn't want to spring anything on her as I felt from her perspective, it might seem like my frustrations and concerns were coming out of nowhere unless she first provoked something, and I didn't want to bring up the past after as much time had already gone by because it felt petty of me to do so. I guess what I didn't realize at the time is I had become pretty distant and tense with her, which she brought up pretty quickly as well as the fact that I was no longer initiating sex with her and completely unreceptive to any advances that she made. I told her flat out that I felt her personality had completely changed and I was having a lot of second thoughts about the relationship. She got very upset and asked me why I had not mentioned anything. I told her that I had tried to, multiple times, and she was completely dismissive of it and accusing me of being jealous or paranoid. I asked her when have I ever been either of those things throughout our relationship, and she had to admit that I have never been a jealous or paranoid person in the past. While she admitted that, she still said that she felt her personality was still the same, and that while she may not know the reason for my perception, it was still wrong. She apologized for accusing me of being jealous, but said I'm wrong. It was weird because it felt like it suddenly got turned on me and that it somehow was all on me. I was pretty stunned and felt like again, she was being dismissive of my point of view. She said she didn't know what else to say. We agreed to put a pin in it for the night, as I was kind of speechless and talking to her felt a bit like talking to a wall anyhow. That night, she tried to initiate again, and I said no and kind of snapped at her. I was quite flummoxed and said something to the effect of, "Wow, you didn't hear a frickin' word I said tonight, did you?" And apparently that broke her. She became so aggressive and hostile in a way that I had never experienced before. She was hysterical, screaming, thrashing, throwing the pillows and bedding around wildly, knocking over a lamp that broke, and that didn't slow her down. Then she started pushing me, telling me to get the F out and that she never wanted to see me again. At first, I was resistant, pleading with her to calm down, but she was just getting more and more aggressive, so I just grabbed my wallet and keys and ran to my car in my socks and boxers. I could still hear her slamming doors from inside my car outside of our house. Her house. I just drove around all night thinking. I was shaking. I was genuinely scared. I was angry. I think I was in shock. I didn't have my phone, so I couldn't call a friend or my parents to go to their house, and I didn't want to show up in the middle of the night under these circumstances anyway. I just drove around all night and I didn't sleep. I waited until about 8 a.m. to go back to the house, which was around when she would leave to go to work, but her car was still there, so I drove and got breakfast and coffee at a drive-thru, and when I came back about an hour later, she had eventually left. By this point, I am feeling pretty calm. I go inside to grab some of my things, and the entire living room is just a mess. Chairs tipped over, the coffee table completely shifted out of place, a plant ripped from a pot with dirt everywhere. You can tell she tried to clean it up a little, but didn't get very far. I went to our bedroom where my phone and clothes were, and in the middle of the hallway, on the way to the bedroom, was a pile of all of my things, including my phone, which had a broken screen. Fortunately, it was still functioning, so I called into work and spent the next 4 to 5 hours packing up a bunch of my stuff and loading it into my car. I also called a friend of mine and drove over to his house. He said I could crash with him for a bit while I figure out what to do next. Later that day, I sent her a text saying that we should talk, and she responded there was nothing to talk about, and that she thinks that it would be better for the both of us if I find somewhere else to stay for the time being. I explained that I already had done so and was staying with my friend, and then she went radio silent. She didn't respond to that or any follow-up texts that I sent. About a week after all of this, she sent me a text that simply said, I need to figure out a time to come and pick up the rest of my things. I asked if she would be there so we could talk, and she said she had nothing to say to me, and I should come get the rest of my things when she isn't there. So I tried calling her, and she didn't answer. I sent her a text asking if she was just done with us, and then she said, yes, I thought I made that clear. Which, maybe she did. I thought it was just an episode and we would at least talk. Later that week, I went and picked up the rest of my things and sent a text saying I left my keys on the counter. She said she was getting the locks changed anyway. I have known this woman for nearly 3 years, and all of this along the way is new. She was always communicative and rarely hostile. She might pout or be passive-aggressive, but this felt like a full-blown tantrum. She was seething like a feral animal or something. She was completely unapologetic and calculatingly cold in a way she had never been before. A few weeks later, after moving into my own apartment, I found out that she was already seeing someone new. I don't know if she started seeing him while we were together. It wouldn't shock me. At some point in the last year, she stopped respecting me, and when I think back, there were probably signs before the surgery. Maybe even wanting to get the surgery. I don't know. The whole thing feels like such a blur. I think I may have been in denial for a while. Maybe I'm just telling myself that now to feel better about it. I have not heard from her in weeks, and I have not tried to contact her on my end either. I did receive a missed call from her in the middle of the night about a week ago, but there was no message or text, and I didn't bother following up to see what she wanted. I am not ready to speak with her again. I don't know when or if I'll ever be. The last couple of weeks with her, and after the big blow-up, were the worst days of my life. I have never felt so meaningless or disregarded, and she was the person who I trusted most in the world, at one point. Anyway, sorry this isn't a more positive update, but a few people had asked. I would have posted it sooner, but it's taken me a while to be comfortable talking about what happened. I still get upset thinking about it. I'm hoping writing it out would be helpful, but honestly, I'm just sad and upset again right now. Fortunately, I have my whole life ahead of me, and I'm fortunate in that I still have plenty going for me. I definitely feel more cynical now than I did before, which sucks, and I'm hoping that passes. And now in the comments. Anyway, sorry this isn't a more positive update. You know, after reading your previous post, this end result is actually pretty positive to me. You had mentioned in your previous post if the woman you fell in love with was still inside somewhere, and to be honest, my first thought was that the woman who was inside had actually now broken free, and the woman you fell in love with is long gone. I'm sorry this took the path it took, but I think that in the long run, you were far better off knowing now than down the road, and 10 years into an unhappy marriage. You do have your whole life ahead of you. And don't worry about the cynicism. It's not as false as you think. Even those of us commenting have our own motives for doing so, whether it's fishing for karma, hoping to get noticed by an OP, or simply using stories and relationship advice to improve our own relationships. Everyone has their own reasons for anything they do. It's a matter of deciding whether or not you're okay with that. Here is my take on why she flipped out on you. She has had some personal insecurities for quite a while, hence why she wanted the breast augmentation. After what, to her, was a great success with the surgery results, she imagined that she would be even more desirable. According to your post, it seems that she did get a lot of attention that she was craving, but from other people, not you. When it all came out, and you explained what to her seemed unimaginable, that the results of her boob job, both how they look and her personality shift, were unattractive to you, her self-esteem came crashing down to a low that it has never been before. Even with the surgery, she was still not desirable enough. All the insecurities came rushing back and magnified, so she lashed out at you and cut you off as a way to cope with her own pain. Basically, hurt people hurt people. This. Breasts have a big place in her life. They killed her mum, for example. In some way, maybe she was showing her chest who was boss. She wanted these for ages. They were going to make everything in her life well again. They were going to make her life awesome. And for her, they did. She was so invested in this chest. So when OP said, well, actually no, they look fake and I hate them, the dream she had spent years building up came crashing down. Her brain short-circuited. And this is why I always say there should be legally mandated counseling before cosmetic surgery, because it's never the chest that's the problem. Anyone who trashed their belongings and someone else's belongings because they can't control their temper is not someone you want to be with either. She has shown you who she really is, and I hope you can move on from this to a better relationship. Things will get better. You've dodged an obviously psychotic bullet here. You said, I don't know if she started seeing him while we were together. I don't think anyone would be surprised by this either. She will have a ton of attention from guys that only care about her chest and fuck all otherwise. Once she gets tired of being used and wants something actually fulfilling, she will be upset that there are no good men left that will give her a second look. I didn't read the previous post, but it seems to me the best thing that could have happened did for your sake. Once someone becomes that volatile in a relationship, there are other factors in play with them that you probably aren't aware of. It's very possible this new guy was already in the picture, and her personality change came due to guilt or something related to that. I would seriously suggest never answering your phone if she calls, and moving on with your life without her as a thought. As tough as that may be for the time being, you'll eventually find someone new and better for you, and all of this will be a memory. This is just so sad. It feels like there must be something else going on here. Maybe the girlfriend started taking painkillers or something post-surgery. I don't think bigger boobs generally make someone change to this degree. Yeah, you know, maybe her mother dying was the catalyst. Everyone is glossing over that. My husband went through a less intense, but still awful similar mood destabilization after his dad passed away. He has always been almost a placidly calm person, and all of a sudden, he had a hair-trigger temper. He literally got in a screaming fight with a Walmart checker. I am so grateful that he was willing to listen to me begging him to get into therapy, that I was at the end of my rope, and our marriage was effectively over. This was over a year after his dad had passed. I am not a monster. It did take our marriage almost ending for him to begin therapy. His dad had always taught him that mental health problems were a sign of weakness. He got a handle on his grief and was able to grieve healthily and to learn how to communicate effectively. It was an utterly terrifying year for me and my girls. He was someone that we didn't know and couldn't predict his moods. Grief is weird. All I could think of the whole time was that it sounded so much like she hadn't dealt with her mother's death and was acting out and self-destructing. I just walked in on my husband making out with my sister. Please help. I am absolutely devastated right now. I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. My sister, Lisa, lost her husband Jimmy 2 years ago in a motorcycle accident. She did not take it well and closed herself off from the world. A year ago, she reached out to us and told us she was having a hard time adjusting and said that she needed help. I helped her find a good therapist and she's been getting her life back on track. My husband Rick felt bad for her and started spending a lot of time with her. For the past 6 months, they have spent more and more time together. At first, I was fine with it because she was finally becoming like my sister again. She started smiling. I was so happy for her, and so was my husband. They started spending more time alone from me, which I didn't think much of at first. When they started spending more and more time alone, I got a little jealous. I told my husband I would like it if we could spend some more time together and that I was feeling a little neglected. He said okay, but nothing changed. Today, my sister came to my house crying because she had a dream about Jimmy. My husband and I comforted her, but I was a little annoyed because the second I let her in my house, she ran into my husband's arms. We all went into the living room and sat down. My husband asked her what happened in the dream, and she actually asked me to leave the room because she didn't feel comfortable telling me. I was so upset at this point, I immediately left and started tearing up in the other room. I was in the other room for around 10 minutes when I heard a loud sound in the living room, so I got up and went there. I could not believe what I saw. I am literally crying my eyes out while typing this up. They were effing making out. On my couch, in our home. What the hell do I do? My entire frickin' world has just been shattered in front of my very eyes. I ran out of the room because I was going to vomit right there, and I locked myself in my room. My husband hasn't even tried to come in. I have been crying non-stop. Please help. The two people I trusted more than anything. What the hell do I do? Edit. Well, I answered the door. Rick walked in and wouldn't even look at me. He mumbled something and went and sat on the bed. I was so angry that he wouldn't even look at me that I almost left right there. I asked him what the hell was going on with him and my sister. He sat there for a few minutes without saying anything while I was crying my eyes out until I finally yelled at him to answer me. He whispered that he loved her. At this point, I lost it. I started yelling, "How could you do this to me?" Do these past 10 years mean nothing to him? Literally dropped to my knees and asked him how he could betray me with my own sister and then tell me he loves her. He was quiet the entire time until I stopped yelling. He said that he had been regretting not experimenting with other women before we got married and that he shouldn't have married the first girl he was with. I was stunned and asked if he even ever loved me. He said yes, but that after spending time with my sister, he realizes she is who he wants to be with. I had no words. I didn't have any clue what to say. All my life was falling apart in front of my eyes and I was scared. I told him I might be pregnant and he said that he would support me. I asked how, and he said he didn't know, but that he was leaving me to go be with my sister. He apologized to me and told me that I deserve better than him and that he will do whatever he can to help me and the baby, and if I agree to divorce him, he will give me everything. He just wants out of our marriage. In that moment, I felt like I hated him and never wanted to see him again. So I screamed at him, "Fine, just get the F out. You ruined my life. I hope you're happy, you piece of crap." And then he had the audacity to try to hug me. I flipped out and pushed him off of me. Someone knocked on the door, then he told me that he still loved me and we would figure everything out and left. I decided to call my parents and tell them what happened. My mum dropped a bombshell on me that my sister had told her that she had feelings for my husband and that she wanted to be with him. Why she didn't tell me this, I have no effing clue, but I feel like everyone's against me. Right now, I'm sitting on the computer looking up lawyers in my area. My entire life has gone to shambles within hours, and I am terrified. Tomorrow, I'm going to get a pregnancy test. I just hope to effing God I am not pregnant, because I do not want to have this piece of crap's baby. God, guys, I am so freaking upset right now. I want to just drink right now, but I won't in case I am pregnant. Jesus, I hate my life. And now in the comments, "Oh, honey, that is terrible. Being betrayed by your husband and your sister together at once in front of your eyes? Holy crap, I'd be losing it too. I'm feeling sad as hell for you right now, just from the pain that I can read in your post. Don't think too far into the future right now. Just deal with the immediate. Who can come stay with you? Tell your husband and sister to leave, that you do not want to see or speak to them until further notice. Give yourself time and space to lay out your options and do what is best for you. Take care of yourself right now. Put yourself first and reach out for help from friends that you can count on. I wish I had more advice. I'm just really sorry this happened to you." You asked, "What the hell do I do?" Hi. First of all, stating the obvious, this is a horrible situation. From what I gather, it seems like you're alone too. I hope your friend calls you back, but if not, send me a PM and vent to me. Anyway, as awful as this sounds, I urge you to show some restraint. Only because being so close to home, there are going to be two stories to this one. Your sister's one and the truth. If you go around calling everyone a C-word, then it won't do you any good in the long run. There is a lot to be said for maintaining a quiet dignity when your world is falling apart, of which it has done. That means no texts, no angry calls, no Facebook status updates, no clothes on the front lawn, etc. What's done is done. They have made their bed and they can have it. The reason why I suggest this is that you don't need everyone else turning against you too. If you get all yelly and angry, they can use this. Once again, I am so sorry that this has happened to you. This is awful. This is fantastic advice. Airing your dirty laundry in public is guaranteed to make you look at least partially to blame, which you absolutely are not in this case. They are going to regret this so much when the fantasy turns into reality. I really hope you are not pregnant. This is exactly what I expect to happen. This crap never ends up working out. How exactly do they think the rest of the family is going to deal with this? Welcome them to the family gatherings with open arms? Not likely. I've done a lot of really stupid things in my 37 years, but I am happy I am not that utterly stupid. In reference to the husband and sister, not the OP. Just making sure everyone doesn't misunderstand. And now on to the update. Thank you everyone for your kind words and PMs. Your words really helped me when I was in the lowest possible spot that I've been in. A lot has happened since I woke up. First of all, I am no longer going to refer to Lisa as my sister because she is not my sister any longer. I woke up this morning and I felt like complete crap and I didn't want to get up. I went and got a pregnancy test and thank effing God I am not pregnant. It was bittersweet because we've been trying to get pregnant for a while now, and I never thought that I'd be so glad to see that I wasn't pregnant. I am really upset over the way things have turned out, and now I'm having these weird feelings that I want to be pregnant after all. I don't know what's going on, but it's just adding on another difficult layer of crap going on right now. A little while after I left the house to get groceries, and when I opened my mailbox, there was a letter in it from Lisa. After I got home, I opened it, and I read it. I'm not going to rewrite it because I cannot even stand to look at that letter again. Basically, it said that she apologizes for how things turned out, and she explained to me that she was very vulnerable after losing her husband, that after spending so much time with my husband, she started to fall for him, and that she thought she wouldn't ever love anyone else ever again, so when she realized she loved my husband, she knew she couldn't let him go. No one else can fill the hole in her heart. Lisa promised they never physically did anything before that kiss I caught them in, and she went on to say she needs me in her life, and that she hopes I can forgive her. I can't write any more about this right now. I might add in the rest later. I am a frickin' mess. Rick called me a little while ago. I didn't pick up the phone, so he texted me, and he told me that he still loves me, and that we can find a way to work this out. I don't know what the hell that means, since he just left me for Lisa. Now I'm really confused, because now that I'm not pregnant, I want to be, and I want my marriage not to be over, even though I hate him for what he's done to me. And why would he text me that? Is he changing his mind? I am so confused. I wish these past few days never happened, so there would be nothing wrong still. I know I shouldn't forgive him if he wants another chance, but 10 years of marriage. We were gonna be parents. I'm so confused and hurt I can't even think straight. And now in the comments, your sister has some nerve telling you that she won't let him go, but wants you in her life. It is a nightmare scenario, and you were totally justified in cutting her off for life. Whether he wants to get back together or not, I wouldn't let that be up to him. I would cut him off as well. Get your bank account sorted out, change your number. I could see somehow getting past cheating, but cheating with your sister is just so scummy. If he couldn't help himself in that situation, then but everyone else is right. Be good to yourself today, ignore them, and try to find a little peace before making lifelong decisions. You can and will be okay. Yeah, I'm surprised that with her sister's own husband being torn away from her, by death though, which is serious, she's perfectly okay with tearing her own sister's husband away. What a selfish woman. You have an acute case of what I call sad person brain. A person with SPB just wants to not be sad anymore, and will make terrible choices that will reduce short-term sadness in favor of long-term sadness. You're like a drug addict who is in withdrawal. When you have sad person brain, it's best to let someone you trust, who is not involved in this situation, advise you. Write your sister back telling her you will contact her if and when you are ready to talk. Until that time, you would like to not hear from her. As for your husband, lawyer up and tell him to A, not contact you again, and B, eat 1,000 fiery dicks because whatever this was is now over. Personally, I don't think the sister deserves to get a response. She has a ridiculous amount of nerve to consciously steal her sister's husband and then ask that she still stay in her life. How selfish can a person get? Holy crap. 2 things. 1, I am so sorry this is all happening to you. This must be a clusterfuck of emotions to deal with. Internet hugs from a stranger is all I can offer. 2, time to salt the earth. Cut the both of them out. No contact, nothing. You're not pregnant. I'm happy and sad for you, so there is literally no reason to ever talk to either of them again. Screw your sister for being a stupid, selfish cow, and screw him for being an idiot. I don't know what to say beyond that. And now to update number 2. Hello everybody. First of all, thank you for all of your advice. Thank you for all the people that PM'd me. I didn't want to make an update, but I feel like you guys deserve to know what happened after all the help I received. One of the most common questions I got was about my mother. Well, I talked to my mother again, and she informed me that she has known about my sister having a thing for my husband for quite some time. She didn't want to tell me because she said she was trying to get my sister to give up the idea, and she did not want me to be hurt. She got my sister to agree to let it go a few months ago, and never heard anything more about it. so she thought that it was over. In the letter that I got in the mail, I did not want to write it all down because it was very painful. A few days has passed, and I'm ready to share some more information, but please don't ask for more, because I am simply not comfortable sharing the rest of the letter. In the letter, Lisa apologized for her behavior, but also went on to blame me, and said that I flaunted my happiness in front of her with my husband. She wrote that she couldn't stand to see how happy we were, and how he genuinely loved me, and she had no one. She told me I should have reached out to her alone, and that I had no business getting my husband involved. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. He's my damn husband. I'm not supposed to involve him in a serious matter like that? She also went on to say that my husband told her he never really loved me, and that she was who he really wanted to be with, and asked me not to contact him. She wants me to go through her if I want to say anything to him, and that she will bring over the divorce papers in a few weeks. I've had a few days to process this information, but the more I think about it, the more confusing it seems to me. Then I got more information today. Lisa is pregnant. She's frickin' pregnant. She says it's Rick's. Rick called me as soon as he heard my father informed me. I picked up my phone, only because I wanted to hear how he could lie to my face and tell me nothing happened between them before that kiss. He told me that he was so sorry and he didn't want it to happen this way, that my father wasn't supposed to tell me. I started crying and asking him how he could get pregnant with Lisa when we were trying for a baby. Then he said something that stunned me so much, my head is still spinning from it. Rick told me he could still get me pregnant if I wanted. WTF? I screamed at him, why the fuck would I want to get pregnant with his child when he's a piece of crap? He told me he wanted to be with both me and my sister, and that he thinks he is polyamorous. I was so shocked that I started laughing. After I stopped laughing, he tried to say something else. Then I heard Lisa enter the room and ask who he was on the phone with. He said nobody and hung up. A little while later, my sister texted me and told me she would bring over the divorce papers in a week and expected me to sign them on the spot as my husband is giving me everything. She gave me a heads up that they are getting married next month, and I am invited to the wedding if I agree to pretend like I was never even romantically involved with my husband. I am literally at such a loss right now. Who the hell is this man, and where is the one I married? Why the F, after all this crap, do I still want to be with him, even though I know I can't be? I just want the man I've been with for the past 10 years back. I hate Lisa, and I no longer consider her my sister. She has ruined my entire life. But what do I do about my husband? He just texted me right now saying he still wants to be with me, loves me, and wants a baby with me. Why is he doing this to me? Why am I even considering it? And now in the comments, I know you're devastated right now, but all I can say is that their relationship will be the nuclear shit show to end all shit shows. Tell him to serve you the papers himself, and while signing the papers, look him in the eye and tell him simply, you're screwed. Because he is. You have 2 less batshits in your life, and possibilities galore. He's stuck with a crazy cow for the next 20 years, while he gets to watch you live an awesome life. If you really want to feel this crap storm, print out the texts he sent you and hand them to your sister when she drops off the divorce papers. Do not agree to sign them on the spot, take them to a lawyer. Just swap papers with the sister and shut the door and watch them blow up their own lives. Your sister is frickin' nuts. I'm sorry, but that is the only conclusion I can gather from this post. She's just using your husband. I'm not defending him, because he's a frickin' moron, to get back at you for having what she can't have. Divorce this POS and keep your sister far away from you. I wouldn't be surprised if the pregnancy is a lie to get you to stay away from him. Your sister sounds seriously unstable. Sign the papers and make it clear you want nothing to do with either of them. Good luck, and I'm so sorry that you're going through this craziness. If she really is pregnant, I feel so much pity for this poor baby. I am already predicting their marriage will go down in flames based on how they met, how they're acting, and how quickly they're holding up together because they probably don't know anything about each other. Your husband probably thinks she'll be like you, plus more awesomeness. She probably thinks he's going to be freaking awesome, as she's only seen the good side. The fact she was envious of your relationship, didn't know how to figure out her emotions, and seduced your husband point to the fact that she's not emotionally healthy. She's probably rebounding pretty damn hard after the loss of her partner and is in a shitstorm of emotions, obvious by the aforementioned drama. When both sides have gotten used to a routine and see things clearly, it'll be chaotic to say the least. Take care of yourself, lady. You deserve better, and work on being content. You will get your satisfaction eventually. Calm as a bitch. I feel sorry for the child. And now on to update number 3. I know this update is long overdue. To be honest, the reason why I didn't update anymore was because I made pretty poor decisions that I was ashamed of and didn't want to face the reality of my situation. I wish I could come here and tell you all that I was strong and cut Rick and Lisa out of my life, and I moved on with my life, updating to tell you how much better off I am without them a year later. Sadly, that is not the case. I screwed up bad. One commenter told me that I have something called a sad person brain. I remember reading it and being in denial, but now that so much time has passed, this was absolutely the truth. I wanted to do anything to make my pain stop, so I did. I would appreciate if I didn't get reamed for the choices I made. What is done, and I need help now. Thank you in advance. If you remember my last post, Rick and I were trying to get pregnant before he left me for my sister, and wanted to even after he did because he thought he might be polyamorous. At the time, I laughed at him because of how absurd it was, but after he hung up that call, the offer got more and more tempting. I started thinking about it, becoming enraged at my sister for doing what she did to me, thinking that I could get back at her by doing it, throwing it in her face that her new boyfriend doesn't love her more than me at all. I was so angry that I heavily considered doing it. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to, out of sheer petty revenge. Don't get me wrong, I also wanted my husband and my life back, but the thought of seeing my sister's newfound happiness and smugness over me come crashing down gave me a pleasure that I never would have imagined. My sister tried very hard to keep my contact with Rick limited. I think she was afraid that he would come back to me if she didn't. She was only able to accomplish this for a few months. Rick tried to contact me in numerous ways during this time, but it was always very brief. I was still angry and non-receptive to his advances, but he started becoming more and more aggressive, telling me how much he loved me, how much he missed me, and how much he still wanted me. I even tried blocking him on certain social media accounts, but he kept trying on others. I know I should have just blocked him on everything, but I just couldn't. The more he tried, the harder it was for me to say no. Unfortunately, this resulted in us getting back together. I told him I wouldn't stay with him unless he left my sister. He swore to me up and down he loved me more than anything, and facing losing me made him realize it, and that my sister was nothing to him. Everything was amazing between us again. It was like old times, and like my sister didn't even exist when he was with me. Yet every night he would go back to her. Stupidly, I decided to believe him when he said he was just waiting for the right time, and excuse after excuse about how bad he felt for her. Things felt so much better when he was back with me. I didn't want to lose him again. Unfortunately, I ended up getting pregnant because I did not recontinue my birth control from when we were trying for a child before any of this happened. At the time, we were both ecstatic, and everything seemed like it was a dream come true. I had my husband back, we were having a child, and my life was no longer in pieces. I was so happy that I turned a blind eye to everything obviously screwed up about the situation. I didn't want to see it. I just wanted to stay happy. It wasn't long before Lisa found out, and my entire family turned on me. My parents told me how it seems like I just did this out of retaliation and to hurt Lisa. They weren't completely wrong, but I mainly just wanted my old life back. Long story short, Lisa went absolutely berserk. She threatened to kill me and sent me a long list of never-ending harassing texts, emails, and calls. I endured hell from her and my family for months until I had to get a protective order. This only resulted in my family hating me even more. Now none of them will speak to me, and Rick has been issued an ultimatum by them to cut me off or be cut off. He hasn't decided on what he's going to do yet, but it seems like he's leaning towards cutting me off, as he has been communicating with me less and less these past weeks. Not to mention, there has been mounting pressure from the family for him to finalize the divorce, but it hasn't happened for various reasons. The last thing he told me was that he feels badly, but that he loves her, and passive-aggressively insinuated that I tempted him into trying to get back with me. Which is complete bullcrap because he was the one who kept pursuing me. He said that I shouldn't have gotten pregnant because now I've made his life so much harder. How I let myself believe he was the man I married again is beyond me. Now all I see is how clouded my judgment has been and the utter mess that I've gotten myself into. How I wanted to be happy again so bad, I destroyed my life even more trying to get that back. I'm 8 months pregnant and scared. I don't know how I can raise this baby alone. I really don't want to give her up for adoption, and the pain of losing my husband twice is unbearable. Even though I know that it was because of my own stupidity, I still love him and can't believe everything he has done to me. Losing my entire family over this has also been a huge kick when I'm at rock bottom. Most of our mutual friends have distanced themselves from us because no one wants to take sides, but it's obvious they are all quite disgusted with the way things have turned out. I have no one left now. Please help me, Reddit. How can I fix the mess that I've made my life into? And now in the comments, pick a different city and move. Change your number, make the whole thing unlisted, and start again. Holy crap. I am truly shocked what your family, sister, and Rick did to you. None of them deserve you. It's okay to be afraid, confused, and angry. Your family should have had your back the entire time and cut off your sister. This is what you need to do. 1. Form an emotional support group with your friends. 2. And this is the most important part, get a good lawyer. Your sister will want you to sign the divorce papers so your husband will not have to provide alimony, spousal support, and child support. She is only interested in what's best for her and not you. You must start thinking of what is best for your baby and you. Even if you can afford to take care of the baby on your own, that money can go into a child's college fund. If you cannot afford a lawyer, there are women's help groups for this, and some lawyer will take on this case if your husband has a decent paying job. 3. Save all evidence that your husband cheated on you and your sisters took your husband away from you. If you're in the US, the court system will back you up. Evidence is key here. Save evidence such as the letters that she wrote to you, her texts, your husband's text, and if you have access to your husband's accounts, print any conversation where he cheated on you emotionally or physically with her. Copy all of his bank records and pay stubs. 4. Cut off all contact with Rick, your sister, and any family member that does not support you. If they contact you and you feel the need to say something, then tell them this. Rick was my husband and cheated on me with my sister. I was there for my sister when she needed me the most when her husband died. My sister then took my husband away from me. Knowing the above, you still feel the need to blame me? Please do not contact me anymore, as I feel real family would never do this to me. This is in case your sister is twisting the story. If they show the slightest possibility of blaming you, or defending your sister, or trying to reason with you, then cut contact immediately. And 5. Do not listen to what your sister, Rick, your family, if they are neutral or blame you, want you to do. Rick will never be yours, and will always switch between your sister and you. This will be very emotionally toxic for you. Stay away from Rick. He will say anything for sex. Her family is mad at her for getting pregnant by her husband. It's very clear which daughter is the favorite. I feel bad for her. Her husband is a piece of crap either way. I agree. It's pretty obvious who's the favorite, considering how Lisa pretty much admits that she also moved in on OP's husband because she dared to be happy with him while Lisa was dealing with her grief. And seriously, how screwed up is that? Like, complete insanity. Both her and her husband are just the biggest pieces of crap. I'm confused how OP ended up as the ultimate villain to the family. The sister was far worse, and the husband was beyond awful. Her comments on previous updates that she made 8 years ago show that her sister was probably a golden child, was a really mean person, and was always jealous of OP. She competed with OP in everything and always wanted to get the best. She even always hated how OP had someone for so long, while sister didn't till she met her late husband. This is probably why she felt entitled to her sister's husband. She felt she deserved it more than OP, and her family seems like they always favored the sister. Hence the ending. I gotta say though, OP is responsible for her own situation in the last update, minus the family blaming her and everyone cutting her off. That's just screwed up. But what was she thinking? I understand and sympathize with her, but God, she really made all the wrong choices. For the sake of my sanity, I'm gonna create my own ending. OP left the country and left all of these people behind, built a new life for her kid and herself, gets therapy, eventually meets a new guy, and is now happily married, while the people she left behind are all miserable and suffering from karma. That is the only ending I will accept, because the alternative is so scary that I don't think I can survive that. I like this ending, and will believe it wholeheartedly. That's the only way this can end, because the alternative is just really scary. I don't even want to think about it. I just hope she's safe and happy wherever she is, and I really hope to God she didn't make any impulsive and sad decisions after the last update. Her situation was really, really bad. Bride 1 hour late to wedding didn't contribute to planning. Here is a wedding story for y'all, my own from 2 days ago. My wife and I, same-sex couple, got married on Saturday, and it's safe to say the ceremony was an absolute disaster. I'm mostly just venting, hopefully it makes someone feel better about their own wedding. They say something goes wrong with every wedding, right? A lot went wrong with mine. My wife is a serial procrastinator. It is excruciatingly frustrating. She is close to perfect if you disregard this fact. We were engaged for about 18 months before the wedding, and did not want to talk about the wedding at all until literally 4 weeks before. I had to practically force her to help with any planning at all in the 17 months before the month of the wedding. I did almost 90% of the planning, but it was insanely difficult and frustrating because there were things that I obviously wanted and needed her input on before I could do. There were very few things that were her responsibility to organize, and she organized practically nothing. Some examples of things that happened due to her procrastination and things she was meant to do but didn't. She ordered her dress online 2 weeks before the wedding. Amazingly, it arrived on time. Helped me pick a photographer since I was struggling to find a good one. She said she would handle it. She didn't. 2 days before the wedding, I asked an old friend who is a semi-professional photographer if he can do it, and luckily he can. She never told me what flowers she wanted, so I could never organize with a florist what flowers to order. We bought our bouquets from the local grocery store the night before the wedding. I Frankensteined my bouquet with a few different ones of the store bouquets, but it admittedly looked very nice. She didn't like any arbors, so she said she would build one. She works in a manual labor job and does woodworking, so it would have been a piece of cake. She did not make the arbor. She said she would buy a bubble machine. She didn't. She said she'd practice the song that we wanted to sing at the reception together as our first song instead of first dance. She never practiced and never wanted to practice together, so we didn't sing it. Buy/rent microphones, she didn't do that. Organize a translator for her family since they don't speak English, which, of course, she didn't do. Organize movers to help transport chairs, decorations, non-existent arbor, that we had to make multiple trips in my mum's tiny car to transport all the chairs and decorations, and I decorated and set up the entire ceremony and reception space myself, and with the help from one uncle. She did not go to her hair and makeup appointment. She threw her hair together and wore no makeup. Which is fine, but it's not what she wanted. She wrote her vows the morning of the wedding. Other than these things she was meant to do/organize, I organized every other single thing in the wedding, which was a lot, since she didn't want to contribute at all. The ceremony was meant to start at 3:30 p.m., with guests arriving at 3:15. I arrived with all the decorations and set up at 2:20. I brought my dress along with me and got changed at the venue after setting up, after getting my hair and makeup done earlier. And I was sweaty from setting up chairs plus decorations. The guests all arrived on time, including her relatives who, as previously mentioned, do not speak English. who I barely speak any of the same language with. They kept trying to take photos of me, even though I kept telling them the clear no's, and they would physically pull me aside and physically force me to take photos, which then made my family think they could take photos despite firmly saying no to them. My wife ended up arriving at 4:30, an hour after the ceremony was meant to start, and at the end of the time we had booked for the venue. The venue was nice enough to let us continue past the time that we booked. Waiting for my wife to arrive was excruciating. I kept phoning and asking where she was, and she would say 10 minutes away, for an hour and a half. She was so late because she was still trying to build the arbor, despite having no way of transporting it, and because she had not written her vows yet. The only person who kept me sane throughout the waiting was our celebrant. My family kept watching me, waiting for me to react, and I felt extremely observed. So I hung out with the celebrant, since she was the only one actually distracting me from the situation, instead of asking me questions I couldn't answer. The questions being, where is wife? What time will wife get here? It was horrible. I legit wanted to die a little bit. Luckily, my wife did arrive, and her vows were very beautiful. The celebrant made multiple jokes at my wife's expense about her hour's tardiness, but they were actually pretty helpful because no one else gave her additional crap for it later on. So basically, the entire ceremony was a mess. The saving grace to the entire wedding was that the reception was absolutely bomb. Minus the lack of song and microphone for speeches, it was honestly perfect and went so much better than I could have possibly expected it to, and was so incredibly fun and amazing. And because it ended on such a good note, the guests all ended up being very happy. The two good things to come out of my wife's extreme tardiness were that she is never allowed to be mad at me again for being late to something, ever, for the rest of our lives. And everyone's opinions of me skyrocketed because I did not lose my crap and stayed patient, externally. Almost every guest told me that I had the patience of an angel and couldn't believe that I could handle the situation. Again, externally. Now that it's all over, and I'm on my honeymoon, I'm kinda trapped between two mindsets of being pretty pissed at how things happened, and how we missed out on doing so many of the things we wanted because my wife did not organize a single thing that she said she would organize, and the mindset of what's done is done, and there is no point worrying about it because it happened, and it's over, and there is nothing that can be changed, so what's the point of stressing about it and being angry? It has definitely awoken me to the extent of my wife's procrastination though, and I'm going to consistently lie to her in the future about the times that things start, /dates important things happen, so that we are, /she is, not late to important things in the future. Which I have already begun doing by lying about our honeymoon flights. Wish me luck, y'all. And now in the comments, enjoy your honeymoon, you deserve it. Couples counseling as soon as you get home. She needs to step up to the plate. And OP replies, I agree. Also, I don't know how you'd bring it up, but it sounds like adult ADHD might be an issue for her, and meds or CBT might help. It's very hard for adult women, and non-adult girls, to realize they have it because we aren't usually the hyperactive type. We also tend to have issues doing things unless it's last minute. It's not procrastination, it's executive dysfunction, and it's hard to explain. I'm not saying this to excuse not getting it done, but if it's ADHD, she needs to use different techniques to be productive than you would. Check out the channel How to ADHD on YouTube and look for the videos about being in a relationship with someone with ADHD. It helped my husband a lot. I'm glad the vows were beautiful because I'm not sure I wouldn't be furious at her for prioritizing her vows and the arbor over you and all the guests waiting for over an hour for her. That is some next level poor behavior, and good thing your venue, you, and Efficient were flexible. My Efficient said he would cancel the whole thing if we were late. I legit had to tell and stress to my mother-in-law that we were going to start exactly on time, so she best not be late. She ran right in as I pulled up. And OP says, my celebrant was honestly an angel. I am so grateful for her. Please, please, please invest in counseling, together and individually. Procrastination can be rooted in anxiety. Speaking from experience here. And OP says, it absolutely is. I think she also overestimated her abilities / underestimated how long things would take. Procrastination can also be from neurodivergence. I recognize those traits in many of my ADHD friends. I'm autistic, and the polar opposite is I overplan and everything has to be perfect ages before the deadline or I feel physically ill. But other autistic people have the overwhelming feeling and procrastinate. I'm gonna be honest, it sounds like there wasn't much enthusiasm for the wedding on your wife's side at all. You are a saint for still going through with the wedding, and hopefully your marriage turns out okay. I think you guys really need to have a talk about this though, because there's procrastination, and then there is zero contribution towards one of the biggest milestones in a person's life. And now on to the update. I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. At the time, I just needed to rant about how disappointed I was, but the responses gave me a lot to think about. We had a big sit-down talk, and I asked her why she truly procrastinated and what was going through her mind. She basically said this: she wanted everything to be perfect to the extent that she couldn't do it. She was so stressed that everything had to be 100% perfect, and was so scared that it wouldn't meet her expectations, she was too scared to start. And once she got into the habit of feeling that way, and the amount of anxiety regarding the wedding, she couldn't break out of it until a month in, when it became dire, and it didn't matter if it was perfect anymore. It just needed to be done. She is very disappointed in herself for falling into this pattern with the wedding. She said it happened a lot during university with her assignments, and she always wrote them the day of, and they always ended up fine. She never really had any consequences. She truly didn't think about how stressed I would be and how embarrassing it would be for me if she was so late. She forgot that the venue booking was only until 4:30. She feels this is the first time she has had any real consequences for procrastinating, being my misery. I believe her when she said how sorry she was and how terrible she felt. She said she felt a lot of shame for making me take the brunt of the work and basically standing me up for an hour because she got herself in such a stressed state because she was obsessed with it being perfect. She said that when she felt stressed, up until last month, she felt like if she was in a bad mood when she planned it, she would be in a bad mood on the day and not enjoy the wedding. We talked about whether that was logical or not, and she agreed it wasn't, but that she couldn't do it when she felt bad, which was all the time since she was stressing about it being perfect. It unfortunately ended with her not really contributing a single thing to the wedding planning and organizing because she felt unable to break out of that mindset. As for the day of, she felt she underestimated how long it would take to do things, and honestly lost track of time. She did indeed want me to marry her, and wedding avoiding wasn't due to that. I had that thought during the planning or lack of planning, and she assured me she wanted to get married. She was also the one who said she wanted to get married, and legally we got married before the wedding without any difficulty. She also did want the wedding, and how it was planned ticked most of the buckets for things she wanted. I did not force her into a marriage or wedding that she didn't want, like 50% of the comments were suggesting. She admitted there were a few things that she would have done a bit differently, but recognized that with the approaching deadline, stuff just needed doing, and I couldn't keep waiting for her. I will bring up the ADHD later, because it was a bit much to bring up all in one conversation, but I will bring it up, and I'll keep an eye out for anything else that possibly matches. We are both autistic, but have very different strengths and weaknesses. I assumed that our differences were different presentations of autism, and didn't even consider that she might have an additional neurodiversity. I appreciate how many people were angry on my behalf. I had crossed into apathy a bit to cope, I think. Thanks to everyone who responded. I really do appreciate everyone's opinions and concern. And now in the comments, okay, so everything the wife said about procrastinating is a whole-ass mood, but that crap is still so infuriating. That is your wife that you left waiting at your wedding for an entire hour and a half, alone, in front of family. I sank through the floor in embarrassment just reading this. If I were actually OP waiting alone at their wedding, I would have lost my mind. I'm the king of that perfectionism/procrastination/avoidance stance myself. But in order to survive as a human with those tendencies, you have to learn when to go to the other person involved and say, I'm in a spiral here, help me start somewhere. I recently went to a wedding where the groom is kinda known for getting sidetracked and distracted. So both groomsmen were given the schedule, had very strict instructions, and kept having to remind groom to keep moving and focused. It worked really well. The groomsmen did an official "he's legally your problem now" handover in the speeches, which everyone loved. I have never related to anything more than when she said her wife left all her schoolwork till the night before, but it always turned out okay and there were never any consequences. I am an awful procrastinator, and that was my whole university life, but I knew that it was a problem and I worked to be better. I can't imagine leaving someone so totally in the lurch like that. To be fair, I still procrastinate, but not when it's going to mess up someone's plans. Our next post is titled, "Am I the Arsehole for accidentally revealing that someone's husband named their baby after a Homestuck character, which directly resulted in their pending divorce?" Trust me, I know this sounds ridiculous, and if it wasn't happening to me, I wouldn't believe it either. So I work in childcare, and recently we enrolled a new baby named Vriska. Now, we're encouraged to build a rapport with the parents and to talk to them about shared interests whenever possible, so I often talk to some parents about nerdy things, or others about fashion and makeup, etc. When I meet the mother for a pickup, I told her how cool it was that her child was named Vriska. Even though I personally don't think it's cool to name your children after your fandoms, but I wasn't about to say that, and told her that I also loved Homestuck, thinking it would be a quick way to build rapport. The mother looked genuinely confused and asked me what Homestuck was, so I told her it was a comic and one of the characters was called Vriska. But sensing the awkward air, I quickly said, "Oh, never mind, it's probably a coincidence, don't mind me." But I was confused because I'm sure the name Vriska didn't exist before Homestuck. She proceeded to tell me that Vriska was a cute original name that her husband came up with from the word Vrishchika, which is Hindi for Scorpio. But that's also straight up Homestuck Vriska's name origin. Apparently, he went so far as to create a fake paper trail of his research and showed her books and sites on the word Vrishchika, so she'd believe him without looking into it. She's one of those crystals and astrology types, and was gushing about how thoughtful he was because he's not into her beliefs, and that he thinks they're stupid. So it was such a sweet gesture for him to go into so much trouble researching a name that aligned with her beliefs, and I'm just nodding along politely because I am internally losing my mind. Long story short, she came back to pull baby Vriska out of the program because she's moving in with her parents, and personally thanked me because she googled Vriska and got her now ex to fess up the whole truth, and basically that he really loved the character Vriska, and that she didn't know about it because that love was the waifu love, rather than the "I relate to this character" love. So, as you can imagine, she was furious and decided to leave her husband for lying to her, among other things. I'm honestly guilt-ridden that I directly shattered a marriage, and now baby Vriska will suffer because of this, which is why I think I could be the arsehole. I don't know the whole story. Maybe he's a really good father. But I also think maybe I'm not the arsehole because who wants a husband who quite frankly sounds manipulative and insane? I'm torn over this because my friends think I did the mother a favor, but my family and co-workers can't believe I broke a marriage over a simple name. So Reddit, what's my verdict? And now in the comments, not the arsehole OP. She would have found out sooner or later. You were just making conversation. I'm sure this wasn't the only reason why she chose to leave him. And OP replies, "Yeah, baby Vriska was in the youngest program, so I'm trying to convince myself it's only a matter of time. There is no way this won't come out, but it feels very heavy being the one to instigate it." Look, you didn't make him go to great lengths to lie to her and cover his tracks. The only person responsible for this marriage imploding is the one who not only lied, but literally forged multiple references, including print materials, in order to get his way about a kid's name, in order to name his baby daughter after his fictional crush. Don't feel guilty. You did her a favor, because someone who will go to those lengths to do that has other cobwebs in his attic as well, and you might have saved his wife and daughter a lot of future grief with this. Yeah, I almost missed the whole naming my daughter after someone I want to screw aspect, and that's actually so foul. WTF. Even more layers of foul when you know Vriska in the webcomic is like, what, 13? So he names his child after a child he was sexually attracted to in a comic. Nasty stuff. The name definitely isn't the only reason they broke up. Not the asshole. Not by a long shot. You were the first who recognized the name, and you certainly wouldn't have been the last. You probably did them a solid by getting this discovery out of the way so soon, because honestly, any father/husband who would go to such lengths to deceive a partner needs serious help. And I'm sure it's not just this issue he deceived her about. And OP replies, that's one of the reasons why she specifically wanted to thank me. She's looking into legally changing baby Vriska's name, and apparently there is a very short time window you can do that without a full-blown court order or something. Not the asshole. It's unbelievable she never googled her own kid's name before. Also, he's a dick for tricking her into naming her kid after his waifu. You didn't break up a marriage, but you definitely did her and baby Vriska a favor. And OP says, that's the thing. She googled Vrischika and it was legit. He also told her he completely came up with Vriska on his own. I think she was naive and trusting, which I also think is why she must have steamrolled the divorce process. She told me so much just clicked and she woke up. Yeah, I mean, it's clear this wasn't the only shitty thing he did. He has clearly been lying about other stuff, and the Vriska thing was just what made her open her eyes to it. You absolutely saved her from further lies. It's very unlikely the guy only did this one toxic thing. You did good. Like, did he really think no other Homestuck fan would ever put 2 and 2 together? And now on to the update. First of all, got a lot of "this is fake" comments, and once again, all I can say is, buddy, I wish this was fake. The mother came back today to finalize things. I can safely say that baby Vriska is no longer Vriska. The mum was able to apply for a change of name as she was less than 12 months old, and because she went to court and had a lot of evidence in her favor, it went smoothly enough. She also told me he did in fact know that she would eventually realize the truth, but had researched the 12-month rule in changing your baby's name, and apparently his plan was just hoping to wait out the time limit. It would be too late to apply after a year, and with COVID and them not seeing anyone because they isolated strictly, his plan was honestly working until I came along. Vriska is now named Artemis because she still wanted a Scorpio-based name because she wanted to take back power after what her ex did to her. He hates the new name, by the way. Plus, apparently she had been calling Artemis Vrissy this whole time, and she's transitioning into calling her Missy. Hopefully Missy will stick, because while naming your kid after mythology is more accepted, I still think the kid will be bullied. I don't know, not my place to judge. So she and baby Artemis are going well. They are living with her parents while she is still sorting out the divorce. She's also aiming for full custody, and from the sound of it, she's confident she's gonna get it. And I'm happy about that since, as the mother stressed, it wasn't the name that caused the divorce, it was the lying and manipulation. She didn't feel safe after she realized the lengths that he could go to get his way. That was one wild ride. I'm gonna go lay down. And now in the comments, parents, remember, your child has to live with the name, not you. I'm still waiting to see the fallout for all the babies named Khaleesi. I know a woman with a daughter named Khaleesi and a son named Spartacus. I shit you not. Those poor kids. If I were them, I'd probably just start using a normal, unassuming name in public, like Kelly or Steve. I'm sorry, but how could OP's family and co-workers think OP is responsible for the marriage breaking up? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I've read people think the adult daughter is responsible for her parents' divorce because she told her mum that her father cheated. So yeah, these people existed. Not really the whole point, but having divorced parents will do less damage than being named after a fictional character your father is romantically or sexually attracted to. So glad they escaped and got that name changed. I found out my mother had a secret baby 2 years ago, and it's not my dad's. This situation is really messing with my head, and at this point, my own mother and grandmother are near enough attempting to bribe me to stay quiet. So I, 20 female, am one of 4, or so I believed until a few days ago. There is me, my twin brother Eddie, and 2 older half-siblings Ruben and Grace. Ruben is my mum's first child, and Grace is my dad's first also. So around 2 years ago, our grandmother on my mum's side had cancer, and my mum went and moved in with her for a while to help and care for her. We didn't see her throughout this whole time, as my grandmother lives halfway across the country, plus at the time, I and my bro was busy with the last year of school exams, and Ruben was staying with his dad in England, so nobody could go out to visit. Not even Dad to see his wife, because he was really busy with work himself. Mum was gone for a total of 6 months, and when she got back, she had changed. She seemed very sad and would constantly be all over me and my brother. I assumed she just missed us while she was gone. 2 years passed since then, and on a visit home when doing things around the house, I knocked over my mum's handbag and everything fell out. Naturally, I cleaned up, but in my mum's wallet there was a picture sticking out of her with a newborn baby in a hospital bed. I was confused at first, and thought maybe it was her with me or one of my brothers as babies, but it was dated from the time she was away with my grandma. I ended up confronting my mum about it, and she froze at first, but then tried brushing me off and changing the subject, but I wouldn't let her. I wanted to know why she was in a hospital bed with a baby around the time she was gone. Either she tell me, or I show Dad I told her. That's when she started crying and told me everything. She had an affair with another man that's not my dad. She started her affair in 2018, got knocked up in 2019, and gave birth early 2020. I have a baby brother. She had a secret baby and nobody noticed. My gran knew and covered for her. She never had cancer and she just lied about the chemo and surgeries. How could I be so stupid? I am so angry with her. I asked her about the pregnancy and the other man, and it turns out she didn't go to my gran's to have the baby, but just the other end of town to where AP's house, and just didn't leave his house. And what's worse is that the affair partner was 24 at the time, with 2 kids already. But at least he was single. She stayed with her affair partner and his kids while going through her pregnancy, and left the baby with him. I asked more about this man, looked him up, and I know him. He is the son of a family friend, and I've seen him around town with my baby brother and didn't even know it. I've not been doing well since finding all this out. My mum keeps trying to talk to me, but I either lock her out of the room I'm in or be around my dad so she can't talk about it, and whenever she does get a chance to talk to me, she does whatever she can to try and keep me quiet. Even tried bribing me with money or shopping trips, and even got my gran to try and guilt trip me. I don't know what to do. Does anyone have any experience with stuff like this? Any advice they can give me? Do I reach out to this man and ask about my brother? Do I tell my dad? I don't even know if she's still continuing the affair or if she's in my brother's life at all. And now in the comments, this is going to destroy your family. If you choose to tell your dad, it'll eat you up inside and you'll start to hate your mother and distance yourself from her. If you tell your dad, he is most likely to flip the F out and leave her. Honestly, your mother is the worst. She deserves everything that's coming to her. She cheated on your dad, had a effing child, and lied to everyone about it. And even worse, the person she screwed around with is a family friend. Sorry, but she's a pretty horrible person. Tell your dad. Otherwise, you will become a part of your mum's betrayal. Don't give your mum a chance to tell him first. She will just pressure you or spin a lie to avoid confronting her infidelity. Sit him down with a sibling and tell him what you've learned. Allow him to be sad and break down in front of you. Advise him to take steps to protect himself before he confronts your mother. Tell him to go see a lawyer and learn what divorce looks like for him. It's incredibly important to be informed. Follow the lawyer's advice, evidence, money, assets, etc. No booze, no sex, STD check, DNA test for all kids. Don't leave his home. Make her leave if he needs space. Get IC for him to help him deal with his emotions and pain. Shock her out of affair fog with divorce papers. He can decide to divorce or reconcile after she's been served. Once served, tell his close friends and family so they can provide support for him, and then cut grandma out. There was a post on one of the infidelity support subs about a man with 3 daughters who knew his wife, who was his childhood love, was having an affair and never told him. In fact, they accepted bribes from their mother to not tell him. When he found out that they knew, it destroyed him. Tell your father. It will destroy your parents' marriage, but don't you betray him too. And you aren't damaging your family. Your mum did that by having an affair with a 24-year-old and having a child with him, and then living with him while having his kid. If she had just left and stayed with Gran, gave birth, then adopted out the kid to whoever and came home, that's bad enough, but alright. She made a mistake. She got pregnant and dealt with it. Dad should still leave her, but okay. Instead, she left and moved in with him, like for months. She up and left you and your dad to live with, and let's be realistic, have constant sex with him, especially since there was no fear of another baby. They probably talked about how to make it work, and they couldn't. In reality, she left your dad for months to be with another man, only returning home when it wouldn't work. And worse, the baby is still close enough for her to see it any time, at any point. 23andMe, Ancestry. The kid will find out at some point who his real mum is. Rip the band-aid, tell your dad. Mum didn't just have an affair and accidentally got knocked up. She went to live with a lover, screw him all the time, and then tried to come back as if nothing happened. Just no. And now onto update number 1. So those who DM'd me and friends I've spoken with all told me to tell my dad, and that's what I did. At first he was in complete and utter denial, and I showed him the picture of my mum with my secret baby brother and used the texts my mum and Gran sent me as proof. I had never seen him cry before, ever. Not even when my uncle died a few years ago, I never saw him tear up. Eventually my mum came home and my dad just screamed and shouted at her. It was awful. I showed everything to my brothers and sister, and my half-sister actually got into a physical fight with my mum. I felt so guilty about saying all this. Mum has gone to my grandma's, neither of my brothers are talking to her, and when it got out to who my mum's affair partner was, my mum's friend group kinda disowned her in a way as he, 26 male, was the son of one of her close friends who already had kids. I wish I could just go back to not knowing any of this. I don't think my family will ever recover. My older half-brother is in England and is adamant on staying there, and my brother is angry with my mum and isn't speaking to her either. Dad is just crying and saying he's going to hire a cutthroat lawyer to divorce my mum, and mum is distraught, blaming me, but is demanding I talk to her as she doesn't want to lose any more of her children. And now in the comments, you are not to blame for this at all. Your mother is an adult who knowingly and willfully betrayed your family and father. She could have stopped at any point before pregnancy and ended it, but she did not. This is what happens when you break someone's love and trust. She had a love child with a guy. Insane. Yes, her blaming OP itself shows exactly how remorseful and how much she regrets her actions. She doesn't give a crap that she blew up her family, but is blaming it on OP. She made her mother lie about having cancer and acted like she was in another country to cover up her affair and pregnancy. She continued seeing him the entire time. I don't know why she came back, but it's probably because she knew everybody would hate her for what she did, and she would lose her stable family home. She's also a super creep for having an affair with her friend's son. She deserves everything coming to her. None of this is your fault, OP. Your mum made her choices. She also made the choice to keep the photo in her purse. This was going to come out eventually, and it's nobody's fault but her own for what she did and what she hid. Your family may be different than it was before, but it will recover. You don't owe your mum anything, but you are also not required to cut her off unless you want to. You can make whatever choice feels right for you about her and how much she is allowed to be in your life. I'd also like to say this. This sub is very trigger-happy to end relationships, bring out every lie, and make everything public. What this sub rarely tells people is how difficult it will be. This sub never tells you how hard it is to lose a friend. It never tells you how hard it is to see your whole family and life nearly destroyed. While OP made the morally best decision, it's not always the easiest, and this sub very quickly forgets this. It is so easy for people on this sub to sit on pedestals and act like it's so easy to do these things. Just because it's the right thing to do doesn't mean it's the best thing to do. I hate this specifically with teenagers who post. Adults should know better what to do themselves, but teens can get easily influenced by idiots with a justice boner. Your mum is a shitty person, plain and simple. She got herself into it, she can deal with the repercussions on her own. Insane how many people these days don't ever stop to think about the consequences of their actions. You did the right thing. Your father was nothing but a good man, faithful husband, and a caring dad. What your mum did was downright evil, and the only thing worse than having a secret kid/affair at the edge of town would be somehow tricking your dad into thinking the kid was his and raising it. Actions like that need to be brought to the light, and your father needed to know the truth about the woman he thought he knew. Yeah, it caused a rift, but it needed to happen. There is a silver lining at least. All of your original siblings are grown, so there is no child support to worry about. And after the divorce, she can just hook up with her boy toy and be the mother to his 2 kids and their toddler. She still gets a family after all. And OP says, apparently that was my mum's original plan, but her affair partner said he wouldn't let that happen, and that he wanted to be in his child's life and would expose their dirty secret. So she just abandoned her child with him. And now onto update number 2. Hello folks, me again. Quite a few things happened since my last update, so I figured I'd post one last time. The situation I feel, and am hoping, is coming to a close. My parents are divorcing. My dad filed not so long after he found out about the baby. Mum tried to convince him not to, but it was futile. My brother still won't talk to her, and my half-sister still hates her, and doesn't regret hitting my mum, and I'm still feeling guilty for starting all this. Not as much as I did, but still not great. My dad wanted to know what her affair partner had to say for himself, and I went with him to hear what he had to say too, and to calm my dad down in case he would get violent. When we arrived on his doorstep, he looked as if he was expecting this would happen. I got to actually meet my little brother and spend time with him while there. Turns out, my mum was originally planning to play the baby off as my dad's, but her affair partner wanted to be in his kid's life and would expose their affair. Mum's plan wouldn't have worked, as the baby very clearly looks nothing like my dad or mum, who are both pale with blonde hair, and my baby brother has pure black hair and an olive skin tone like his dad. On to the affair. The affair partner told us that our mum told him that my folks were in an open marriage, a sort of don't ask, don't tell thing, so he went along with it, and didn't find out she was lying until much later when mum was pregnant, and he showed us texts between them confirming that he thought it was fine to meet up with my mum for sex. My dad broke down in tears on this guy's couch, and this man comforted my dad. This man had felt so guilty about lying to my dad's face from when they'd see each other around town or at his friends' barbecues, but he didn't want to ruin our family. He then sent screenshots of the texts between him and my mum to my dad to use in court against my mum, as she's trying to get what she can out of him at the moment. My relationship with my mum is still damaged, and anytime she tries to blame me, I tell her that it was her own actions that caused all this, and that I will be distancing myself from her for a while. She pleaded with me not to do that, but I ended up blocking her like my brothers did. Since then, I've gone back to college and have a trip planned with my sister to go on vacation to Jamaica to visit her grandma, so that's the only thing I have to look forward to these days. Edit. Some people have gotten confused about who is who in my family, especially around me and my siblings and ethnicities. Me and my twin brother, the 2 bio kids of both mum and dad, are very blonde Americans. One half-brother, who is my mum's first child, who is in England currently with his dad. One half-sister who is my dad's first child that he had with a Jamaican woman that passed when my sister was young. Baby half-brother that mum had with her affair partner. Her affair partner was of Italian and Native American descent. Both of my folks are blonde with pale skin and blue eyes. And now in the comments, wow, your mum pretty much destroyed her life, and honestly, she deserves it at this point. She lied, manipulated, and cheated this all on her own. I would keep her blocked for the rest of your life. She must know that actions have consequences, and those consequences will last a lifetime. I can't believe how narcissistic she is about all this. Honestly, man, good riddance. She will ruin your life if you let her back in. The plan to pass the kid off as OP's dad's was what nailed it for me. What utter trash of a human. That's like the most evil thing someone can do to someone they're supposed to love. It is an absolutely incredible story of deception, unfaithfulness, mistrust, and shows exactly how lying never works out for anyone. You, your dad, brothers, and sisters all have every right in the world to not want to be a part of your mum's life. I wouldn't either. She broke her family into absolute pieces. I'm glad that the man she was having an affair with is a decent guy and consoled your father and gave him evidence to fight it more in court. Nowhere near to this degree, but my grandmother had done this exact same thing. She was with my grandfather in Germany and had a child with another man back in the 1950s. My grandfather found out, but didn't care. They ended up having a child together anyways, and then took off to Canada from Germany via boat. My grandfather wanted nothing to do with the illegitimate child, and my grandmother agreed to leave the child behind in Germany with her father. Many years later, my mother was born in 1960. By the time she became a young adult, she had found some things from a girl in Germany that was sent directly to my grandmother. My grandmother continued a relationship with her child and kept it a secret from my grandfather and all 4 of her kids that she had with my grandfather. My mother was the only one to figure it out and called her mother out on it. So my mother is one of 4 children that knows that they have a half-sister still in Germany. Everyone else hasn't a clue whatsoever. It's pretty wild what lengths people will go to in order to hide things from family and friends. I don't necessarily hold it against her. It was a time where having children out of wedlock was almost as bad as mustering someone. Why she didn't come clean about it after, I don't know. But I know I have a half-aunt in Germany to this day, and my mother, aunt, and 2 uncles don't know that they have a half-sister in Germany. Imagine going to all that effort to hide a secret baby and getting busted because you kept a date-stamped, undeniable photo in your wallet. I'm more surprised that she didn't get caught sooner. I'm just surprised she had a physical photo in her wallet. Everyone I know under 60 only has photos on their phones. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for kicking out my boyfriend's cousin and family out of my house?" Honestly, I find this so ridiculous, but everyone in my life thinks that I'm an asshole. Also, throwaway account because I don't want anyone to find out about this, not their real names. So I, 24 male, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, 24 male, Jay, for 2 years. And we are planning on moving into my house next month, but things don't look that way anymore. I'm an orphan, I lost my parents 3 years ago, and me and my brother Sam, 20 male, inherited our parents' house and quite a lot of money. I wouldn't call us rich, but we are definitely comfortable. My parents were hit by a drunk driver, and it took me over a year in therapy to get over it. My brother is still going, and things have been getting better, but he still grieves a lot. We both got the house, but he wanted nothing to do with the house and asked me to buy him out of it, and I agreed. The house is now in my name, and we got him an apartment 20 minutes from me, so we're still close to each other. When I met my boyfriend, I opened myself up again and fell in love, and we have a wonderful relationship. The only problem is, his cousin Mike, 21 male, he hates me a lot, and I honestly have no clue why he hated me before I even met him. Jay defends him, but tries to at least make him act nice in front of me. 3 days ago, I hosted a party at my house. In my house, I have a lot of pics of my parents, me, my brother, and all of us together. It makes me feel as though they are still with us, and we're still a happy family. At my party, my friends, Sam, Jay, and his family were invited, and me and my boyfriend were planning to tell everyone that we are planning on moving in together. I was so excited, and Sam seemed to be enjoying himself for the first time in a long time, so I was pretty darn happy. Before we got to tell everyone, Mike looks at my brother and points to a picture of my parents and says, "I'm glad they aren't here. The way they raised your brother makes them seem like crap parents." My brother got up and told me what he told him and left. I was heartbroken. He seemed to be happy for once, and his cousin ruined it. Well, I told Jay to remove Mike from my home, or I would. Jake got defensive and said they were messing around, and that my brother needs to be able to take a joke about stuff like this. I said, "You have 3 minutes to throw him out, or I will." I set my timer, and I waited it out. My boyfriend didn't seem to think I was serious, and when time was up, I told everyone that Mike is no longer welcomed in my home, and if he didn't leave now, I would call the cops. His family said if he goes, then they go. Here is why I think I might be an asshole, but still think my actions were justified. I told them, I don't give an F about you all when you can't even teach that F-er manners, so get the F out. They left, and my friends helped me calm down. They said they get that I was mad, but that I was out of line. Jay has threatened to break up with me, and my brother just said to forgive them, but I can't. So am I the asshole for kicking my boyfriend's family out? And edit, I just wanted to say that his family backed Mike as well, that's why I said what I said. And now in the comments, not the asshole. And consider that your boyfriend seems to think disrespecting your dead parents is a cool and viable action to do. That is what I came to say. OP should break up with Jay. He may love Jay, but Jay does not love OP back. If he did, he wouldn't have tolerated this type of disrespect for OP. Also, can we just say OP's friends are also assholes for telling OP that he was out of line? I'm sorry, if someone spoke about my dead parents that way and made a malicious joke, nothing would be out of line except for violence in my opinion. And OP says, I'm gonna have Jay come over tomorrow. Me and my brother have talked, and I'll have a chat with Jay about a lot of things. Thank you all for your comments. Why? Why waste your time on someone where you have to explain to them why this is wrong? Would you ever treat someone this way? Would you ever let someone in your family treat Jay this way? No? Then don't allow someone to treat you this way and go find someone with the same baseline decency level that you have. Christ, Jay's entire family sided with Mike. You were young, you were 24. Is this a family that you want to deal with for the rest of your life? Constantly justifying your feelings are valid. Cut your losses with Jay and move on. You are better than them. Not the asshole. Break up with Jay and change the locks on your house if he has a key. He doesn't respect you, and he let his family insult you and your dead parents in your home after you graciously hosted them. You deserve better. I'm so sorry for the loss of your parents. I normally take issue with how quickly and cheaply Reddit recommends breakups. However, OP really has to. Mike insults OP's dead parents and brother in their home, refuses to do anything about it, and then protects Mike for it, to the point where he threatens to break up with OP over it. If he backs Mike in insulting OP's dead parents to that degree, Jay may as well have said the insult himself. I am missing some context on how they raised him, making them crap parents. Aside from that, not the asshole. If they are going to disrespect you in your own house, then they will disrespect you anywhere and it will never stop. Boyfriend is also the asshole for not shutting it down a long time ago. And OP says, oh, my bad for not clearing that up. I have no clue. Mike just hates me, and to be honest, I have no idea why. And I think he just said that out of spite. Does Mike possibly think your boyfriend would be with a female if it wasn't for you? And OP says, I have no clue. I'm honestly just tired and trying to be there for my brother. Making this post took a lot out of me. I don't really think Mike has any friends except Jay, so it might be because I took his friend from him. I don't know. This is bizarre and immature of Mike, but I'm conflicted about Jay. He defended Mike, but there are a lot of good memories, and he helped both me and my brother through a dark period. Good memories don't produce a happy future, and your boyfriend should have been enraged for you, not defending that monster. If you are not familiar with it, look up the sunk cost fallacy. And now on to the update. So I had a long talk with my brother. He says that if I want to forgive Jay, then I should do that, and that he will be by my side no matter what. But he won't ever be in the same room as Mike again, and if I ever host a party or anything like that, and Mike is there, then he won't go. Jay and I had a talk today at lunchtime. I took a sick day and just wanted this to be over so I could go on with my life. Jay came to my house, and the first thing he said was, "Ready to apologize to Mike?" And I told him that if he didn't change his tone and cut that crap, I would throw the door in his face. He looked choked at my response and came in and sat down so we could talk. I told him that what Mike said is just evil, and that I won't have him disrespect my late parents and my brother. I told him that I won't ever be in the same room as him again. Jay stayed quiet and took his phone out and sent a text, and he started to talk. He basically said that it was meant as a joke, and that me and Sam took it way too personally, which made me yell at him. We argued about 10 minutes more, and then Mike showed up. I looked at Jay, and he told me to just hear him out. Being the idiot I apparently am, I did. He said, and I quote, "I'm sorry you and your brother can't take a joke, but can we get past this now?" I said to Mike, "Get out," and he left. Jay started to yell, but I just said that we're over, and I told him to get out. He started crying and told me he was sorry. I just took my keys back and threw him out. I'm not even sad, I'm just hurt and angry. But thank you to all of you. Your comments helped me and I'm grateful. This whole thing will probably sink in later today or tomorrow, so once again, thank you to all of you. Oh, and right, I haven't blocked him yet, as I still need to get some of the things that I left at his place, but after that, I will block him and his family. And now in the comments, what the actual F? You dodged a bullet right there. Actually, judging from how his family reacted, you dodged a whole lot of bullets. Exactly. Their whole family seemed to miss a few screws. I'm still kinda pissed the OP's friends didn't immediately say, "What the hell is wrong with your boyfriend's family?" Exactly. They calmed OP down, but also told OP he was out of line about it. Like, did they not hear what the little dipshit said about their dead parents and his brother? Wow, you made the right decision. I am so proud of you for standing up for your brother and your beliefs. You're a really good brother. A joke is only considered a joke when people involved in it find it funny. What Mike said was purely evil, and I bet 100% they would have blasted at you if you had said what he said. I think you dodged a bullet here, where all these issues came up before you moved in with your now ex. Trust me, there is definitely someone way better out there for you. Please stay strong and safe. If Mike keeps pulling the "but it was a joke" card, he needs to start getting the "I don't get it, tell me why it's funny." I hate people that think family should come first, even when family are assholes. I hope Jay's next boyfriend asks why he broke up with his last boyfriend. Well, my cousin made a joke about his dead parents being shitty parents, and I took my cousin's side. What do you mean you don't want to be with me anymore? Nah, Jay will be like, family's so important to me, and they couldn't respect that. These type of blood is thicker than water assholes always try to make it look like the person with boundaries is the problem, and not the pack mentality that you are obliged to put up with crap weasels just because you have a tiny percentage of shared DNA. Alright, and that's where I'm going to end the story today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, smack that like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.